Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So I know this video is a little bit different, but I really wanted to cover some more Final Fantasy, of all sorts of Final Fantasy games really, getting ready for the new Stranger of Paradise DLC, which was recently announced, and of course also Crisis Core and FF7 Remake Part 2. So yeah, to get ready for that, I'm also going to be uploading more Final Fantasy stuff alongside the Destiny content. Just like I used to do with FF15. It's been a long time since I uploaded a lot of that stuff. So, starting off in this video, I'm going to be showing you my main build that I've used throughout pretty much the entirety of Chaos Mode. Chaos Mode being the super hard mode that you unlock after beating the game. And yeah, pretty much just going to be covering it and showing you what I use and how I use it and why I use what I use. Everything does take a while to grind for, but I also will be showing you places you can grind for artifact gear. So yeah, let's get into this. Hopefully enjoy, and here's the build. Okay, so because I actually forgot to record this part of the commentary when I recorded the rest of it, I did just want to throw this in here and mention what the build is actually going to be about, because for some reason I never did that. So pretty much the idea of the build is that we are going to be focusing a lot on block on the Greatsword, since the block for Greatsword is actually really strong, and in my opinion better than shields with the setup I have, because we also get to reap the benefits of very high damage and the insane block, which is going to pair very nicely with Breaker and Sage, which are going to be the two abilities we will be using in this build. So make sure you have those completely maxed out at 99, otherwise this build will not work as efficiently as you want it to. Also, the entire focus of the build, aside from break, is, or not break, well, I guess break with the block, is also going to be on the Xantasuken ability on Breaker. It does incredible break damage, it does incredible damage by itself, and we are going to be deleting bosses and deleting enemies with it with this build. So, hopefully you enjoy, and yeah, let me know what you think of the build. Let's get into this. Okay, so here are some of the best places to farm artifact gear. Of course, you will want to do this on level 300. Do not do it on anything lower. So first off is the Azure Memories the Stymied mission in the Hallow Massif. This is very quick. You literally just pick up a key, which is in a chest, same spot every time. You open the door, you kill a boss, you get artifact loot. Very efficient, very fast. Probably my favorite place to grind. Highly recommend. So yeah, make sure it's level 300 as well. Next up, we have the Coral Memories the Greedy, of course, level 300 again. This place isn't necessarily fast, but it does have a lot of sources of artifact gear, lots of chests, lots of enemies. You just kind of have to pray, really, that you get good gear. But it is quite efficient, but of course it does take a lot longer than the Hallowed Massif over there. And then finally, another great source is the Ebony Memories the Guided. This place isn't necessarily very plentiful, but the first boss is a very good grinding spot. You just kill the first boss, you get the drops, you restart the mission, kill the first boss, get the drops, restart the mission, and yeah, that's it. That's pretty much the best places that I have grinded. I've got hundreds of artifact gear to show for it, so highly recommend those spots, and yeah, happy grinding. Alright, so next up is my Breaker setup. This is pretty much the Job Master upgrades that I'm going to be covering here. Of course, you want Breaker fully maxed out, otherwise, what the hell are you doing? This isn't going to work. But yeah, once you can actually master the jobs, this is the upgrades that you will want. We want Break and we want Strength because we want more damage and we want to block more. This build is focused a lot on blocking. Pretty much everything is based around blocking, actually. So I do recommend that. Then I have ability damage increase and break damage increase, so we do more damage and we also break their gauge faster. Of course, breaking their gauge means they die instantly because you can finish them, so we want that. And then I have charge attack damage increase, which is going to affect the Xantasuken ability on Breaker. Probably the strongest ability in the game, so increasing that damage at all is very good. Then I have MP recovery, which is basically just there so I can do that more often. After I soul burst. And then finally we have break damage taken reduction, so we can block and take less damage. And then we have action ability MP cost reduction, so we can do Xantasuken more. And then we have buff duration increase, so that my Sage abilities will last longer. Now finally, with all of that out the way, we can actually cover the entire build itself. So, just really getting this out the way quickly, the actual secondary job, Sage here, is not going to be used for damage or for attacking at all. It's literally here for this ability right here, the Sage 400% ability. Potions now also restore MP and refill break gauge. And of course, it will also be used to actually give myself buffs like haste and regen. That is literally its only purpose. Everything else is not relevant on the actual secondary job. So you can have whatever you want here. But I do recommend having White Mage as well, which increases the duration of buffs on yourself by 12%. This is going to make haste and regen last longer. Alright, and next up, I will be showing you my actual upgrades on my gear. So like adding strength and whatever. This is pretty customizable. You can have whatever you want here, but I do recommend having everything that I have on my gear. So for my weapon here, I have strength increase, I have break damage taken reduction, and I have more damage. I've got strength, more damage, MP cost reduction, so I can Zantetsuken more, as shown on my other gear. Then I have strength, damage increase, buff duration increase, so my Sage abilities last longer. I've got strength, damage dealt increase, non-elemental damage dealt increase, buff duration increase again, strength, damage, and finally damage, MP cost reduction, and more damage. Of course, we do want lots and lots of damage, we want lots of buff duration time, and we also want lots of MP cost reduction. Now, for the job affinity bonuses on Breaker, since this is very important. First off, we have nullifies all magic damage while guarding. This is so important because the build is focused around guarding, and nullifying all magic damage completely from every single source in the game is so busted. Then second, I have Cyclic Warrior increase, which increases damage dealt to an enemy's max break gauge by abilities. Zantetsuken is going to completely decimate their abilities, or their break gauge with this. And that is super strong because the faster you can kill them, the better. Then I have the Breaker one. Of course, on Breaker, we have restores MP with each successful soul burst. This is kind of like what I had on the upgrades for Breaker as well. This is basically just so I can Zantetsuken more after getting kills. Then next up I have the Marauder bonus, which increases break damage dealt by charge attacks. Zantetsuken is a charged attack, and so is the Monster Hunter charge up ability on Greatsword. We are using a Greatsword for this, of course, so that's going to be perfect. Then we have Berserkers, which refills break gauge based on damage dealt. Every single hit will recharge our break gauge, which means we can block more, which is busted, really. Then Assassin is very weird. You can have whatever you want here. I just have bad RNG on my gear, as you can see on my chest piece. So I got Assassin over really anything else, but I do recommend something coming later. Then next up we have White Mage again, of course, so the buffs are, still the same timer for Sage and not Sage. You will need that. Then we have Samurai, which reduces the MP casting cost of action abilities. That means we can Zantetsuken more, basically, which is insane. Then I have Red Mage. This is really good. Increases MP recovery speed with each regular attack. So regular melee attacks are going to recharge that. I do also recommend not having Dark Knight. This is just kind of like a thing that I have on my sword. Dark Knight and Assassin I do recommend swapping out for Quick Charge. Unfortunately, I can't do that because my gear isn't good enough. But if you can get Quick Charge in this build, I do recommend that. It means you can charge Zantetsuken faster and your Greatsword. Command abilities are irrelevant, combo abilities are irrelevant. You can use whatever you want, whatever you think complements the build. But yeah, that's the build. That's all of my gear. That's how everything's set up. That's how all of my abilities are set up. And of course, you can already see what the goal is. You block as much as possible. You get MP back as much as possible. And you Zantetsuken as much as possible. As well as buff yourself with haste and regen whenever it is necessary. Alright, so that'll do it. That's the entire build. I'm just going to show gameplay now, basically just showing off how the build is going to work. As mentioned earlier, I will be showing bosses and maybe a little bit of background gameplay too. I will also have a no damage Chaos Warrior fight in here as well that I used my build to do. That just shows how good it is. The no damage part comes from being able to stop all elemental damage, and yeah, it's just super strong. So yeah, let me know what you think of the build. Hopefully you enjoyed, and of course, adios.
Time for a change. Come on! This is the one. Stay from here!
Allow me. Got a sinking feeling. Victory is still within reach. Watch it carefully. Your defenses fall.
Suffer!
Now's your chance.
Now we're talking! All right. Come on!